Some breaking news. Pharaoh Brown cut by the Houston Texans. Aaron Wilson, the first one to report it. Immediate reaction to Pharaoh being cut. Pretty surprised. Not shocked, but pretty surprised. I thought that Pharaoh Brown was going to be a decent part of what they were doing this year. He fooled me twice. I was very skeptical of buying in. We were at training camp this year, and a year after, we watched Pharaoh Brown practice and kind of predicted big things for him in 2021 before he had a very disappointing season that was really just overshadowed by penalties. I thought that Pharaoh Brown was going to be good. I was fooled again, fooled me twice. So whatever that George Bush line is, fool me once, fool me twice. Pharaoh Brown fooled me twice. There ain't no shame. And he has been released. I'll tell you this, the guy practices better than Rudy. Pharaoh Brown, if you watch him practice, he looks like an all-pro. I know he made his all-pro comment this year. He was talking about Njoku money. But the guy practices like something you've never seen. It sticks out. I enjoyed talking to Pharaoh Brown. He was always a fun guy to talk to. But he just never really produced outside of 2020. The only 2 touchdowns that Pharaoh ever had were in 2020. 44 catches in 31 games. No touchdowns last year and no touchdowns this year. Was inactive before. A little bit surprising. As far as the state of the tight end position goes, though, I do think they've improved it from the end of camp to now. And maybe that is an indictment on Nick Caserio. Maybe it's a praise of Nick Caserio. It just kind of depends how you look at it. Glass half empty. Maybe they should have moved on from Pharaoh Brown earlier and, been more proactive in trying to improve the position. Glass half full, though. O.J. Howard, he's blocking very well. He had a couple of touchdowns in his first game, and Jordan Akins is playing the best that he's ever played. Jordan Akins, the touchdown in his first game back, and then last game he had the 30-yard reception. He's blocking better than we become used to. Nobody's going to talk about this being one of the best tight end rooms in the league, but the tight end position has improved, and it has done so in a short time. So it just kind of depends how you look at it. Maybe Nick Caserio didn't do as good enough job leading up to camp, but afterwards, I will say tight end position is better than it was at the end of camp. And if O.J. Howard's going to play like this, he could potentially be here past this year. Don't know what they're going to do for Akins, but the tight end position has improved. So depends how you look at it. But Pharaoh Brown no longer here. Now, how much does this matter? From a big picture point of view, and I always talk about process over results. I always talk about the evaluation of the roster and how it's hard to get too down on this roster because it's not going to be the same next season. Next season, you're going to have cap space, you're going to have draft picks, and you're going to continue to, change your core guys. If you look at the guys that Nick Caserio signed to 1-year deals last year and he decided to bring back, I think you could question the churning of the roster by Nick Caserio. Now, how much does it matter? And is there something more to it than a guy being a part of things next year? Maybe so. But if you look at Justin Britt, he was awful in his one game, really bad. Best of luck to him and whatever he's got going with, but he was bad. And when he was brought back, you immediately kind of raised the eyebrows and said, why? Pharaoh Brown, I was surprised he was back, even though I eventually kind of bought into him for the second straight year at training camp. The linebackers, Kirksey and Kamu Grugier-Hill, they've been very disappointing. They can't stop the run. And you brought those guys back, and they haven't looked that good. Chris Conley, they brought back. They've cut. He's gone back and forth. So I won't hold that too much against him. But outside of maybe Malik Collins, who hasn't been great, but Malik Collins kind of made sense. Some of the guys that they've decided to bring back after their 1-year contracts in 2021, they really haven't panned out. Now, is it just about having those guys in the building to where these young guys have someone to look to? Does it even matter? Could it be like some sort of like conservative tanking where you're not trying to bring in the best guys? I don't know. But if this were a football team that had a lot of expectations, it would be kind of alarming to see the guys that you had a year to evaluate in Britt, Brown, Kamu Grugier-Hill, Kirksey, although Kirksey hasn't been too bad, but the linebackers as a whole have been bad. And you got to wonder if you were shopping in the same area of free agency, could you have found some guys that could probably be doing a little bit better job than those guys at linebacker? Then maybe the questioning of the churning of Nick Caserio could come into play. But in the big scheme of things, does it really matter? Do they really need to win? Are you excited by the possibility of the number 1 overall pick? Maybe you're not. I kind of am. I'm finding myself falling into the trap that I didn't want to fall into. But either way, no matter what does happen next year, Pharaoh Brown's not going to be here, and life goes on in the Caserio rebuild. Let me know what you think. Put it in the comments. Subscribe. Pharaoh Brown no longer here. State of the tight end position, not bad given the end of camp, but not as good as you probably hoped it would have been after last season concluded. Pharaoh Brown, 44 catches in 31 games, 2 touchdowns, all in 2020, and he gone. Subscribe to the channel. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Landry Locker, and spread the word. Listen to me on the Odyssey app, AUDACY app. You can listen to every segment we do on Sports Radio 610. Talk to you later. Pour one out for Pharaoh Brown.